DataPundit. So in continuation with the database concepts, right, and how to create a meaningful database, right? Whether it's an OLTP or maybe OLA. So, so we need to take care of you know certain concepts basically. So there is a popular concept called normalization. Different normal forms actually, and so we have the raw data and we try to create the tables and try to insert those records, right? If we do meaningless insertion, we will end up creating the data mess, right? So the database which has a lot of data, but there is no logical placement of the data, so that while querying, we can query the data as desired or as the use case comes, right? So though we have a lot of data, but we cannot you know create the different logical queries on it, and we cannot answer the user specific queries, right? So to do that and to avoid the lot of data insertion, to avoid the redundant data insertion, the data redundancy, we have a normalization concept in the databases. So there are multiple normal forms, like first normal form, second normal form, third normal forms, then Boyce coded normal form, fourth, fifth, sixth, all those things. So there are three important normal form we are going to talk about today, and we are going to take the example and try to see the meaning of it, and then we try to understand this. It's a little bit kind of tricky. So, so let's talk about the first normal form. So the first normal form talk about two concepts, right? Each table cell contain a single value. So there will be atomic values within cell, okay. And another is each records needs to be unique. So let's talk about the example. Like, so I have a name, phone numbers, city and state, right? So there are name is Ram, right? And the values phone number, there are multiple phone number here I have. And then there is a city Bangalore, and it is belonging to the Karnataka state, right? Then they have, like, there are multiple phone numbers again, and then, like, so this is not proper when we try to construct any meaningful database. So this database data is not a kind of proper. So what normal form talks about is we will have each record should be unique. So first of all, we are going to refine this data and we'll try to see in a meaningful way. Like, so this data should be we will need to eliminate the repetition of the data, right? The phone number are occurring multiple times. Okay, so what we can do is we can have two record for Ram and two record for Devali and Milka, right? So whoever is one number, we can specify once, and then if we have two or three numbers, you can specify likewise, because it's in this one number is unique in itself, right? So this uniqueness we need to establish, okay, within the table. Let's say if we try to create one table, right? So having these many columns, so we need to uniquely identify the record based on the values in it, okay. So and also this is a complex thing, right, to read and understand it, right? So therefore we the first normal sense there is record needs to be unique. So we have eliminated the repetition and we have created the table. So this is in first normal form now. So now let's talk about the second normal form. What is the second normal form? So let's take the example. So let's take the example of this one. Like, I have a teacher ID. So okay, 111, and then subject is maths and subject ID is 11. Okay, maths has an 11 subject ID. Then again, this is a data table actually. Let's say it's a table. Okay, so the second normal form says that it must be in first normal form. Okay, there should not be any repetition. Okay, so I can see that it is in first normal form. Like, we don't have any repetition of the data. And then non-prime attribute is dependent on the proper subset of the any candidate key of the table. So if you, what is candidate key? So candidate key is the combination of the keys, right, which uniquely identify the record. So within this, the teacher ID and subject ID can uniquely identify the record. You can see that, right? Candidate key. Okay. So the second normal form says that any of the non-prime attribute. What is the non-prime attribute? Subject is the non-prime attribute. Okay. Any non-prime attribute is dependent on subject ID, which is part of the candidate key. So it should not be there. So any non-prime attribute on the proper subset of any candidate key. So it says that any non-prime attribute should not be dependent on the part of the candidate key. There should be, or you can say that there should not be partial dependency. Okay, there should be a proper dependency. There should not be partial. So it is in partial dependent. So math is dependent upon the subject ID. It is in partial, right? So subject is dependent upon the. So we need to eliminate this. So what we can do is we can create two tables: subject detail table and the subject teacher table. So if I create the subject detail table, so what it will have? It will have subject ID and it will have the subject name. Okay. So what is the subject ID? 11 and subject is maths, and then 12 is physics, and 13 is and 15 is we have again chemistry. Okay. Okay. And what is the subject teacher table? Subject teacher to teacher ID, subject ID is 11 is stored by 111, and then the teach. Okay. And then the one also is taught by 11. No, 12 is taught by again 111. 13 is taught by 222. 115 is taught by 333. Okay. So we have all the details: 111, 222, and 333. Do we have anything? So 12 is also taught by 333, right? 33. Sorry, 333. So this is how we can eliminate the this one, right? So it is called a subject ID and the teacher ID. Okay. Now it is in second normal form. So see, there is no partial dependency in this table, and there is no partial dependency over here. Okay. Okay. What is the primary key of this table is both, right? Here also the subject ID is the primary key. Okay. Now, let's talk about the third normal form. So, third normal form is must be in second normal form, in the sense of there should not be partial dependency. I mean, any non-prime attribute should not be depending upon the part of the candidate key. Also, it should be there should not be a transitive dependency, transitive functional dependency, in the sense of uh, any non-prime attribute on any super key must be removed. The transitive functional dependency of any non-prime attribute on any super key must be removed. So if you look at it, so the if you look at this data, right, employee ID, employee name, employee zip number, states, employer city, employee district. So the thing is like it is in second normal form. There is no There is no partial dependency, okay, and there is no partial dependency, right? In the sense of there is an the different subject ID, like these non-prime attributes are not depending upon the part of the candidate key, right? So what is the super key here? It is an super key is employee ID, and employee ID plus, so employee ID is the primary key over here. So to uniquely identify any record, we have a employee ID. Okay. So any non so so the zip number, or you can call it as an employee zip, right? So employee zip can determine the employee state. Okay. Forget about this city and district. Let's talk about state column and employee zip column, right? Employee ID column is belonging to the employee ID. But the let's talk about the address attributes, right? So there is an employee zip. So employee zip can determine the employee state. But while looking at the employee zip and if I want to see which what is this record for, right? So I need to go to the employee ID, right? While looking at employee zip, and while looking at the employee state, right? uh, I I would go to the employee zip. Employee state can be determined by the employee zip, right? And employee zip is determined by the employee ID, right? So if I look at these records, right? So there are same state, right? So if I looking at the HR, I can say that this employee zip is it belongs to HR. Okay. So I cannot say, I mean, whether, what is this record basically. I need to go to the employee ID. So the thing is, though the employee state is determined by the employee zip, while looking at the employee, I can say it is in HR, Haryana, right? But while looking, and because the employee state is determined by the employee zip, so there is a transitive functional dependency. So employee state is determined by employee zip, employee ID is determined, employee zip is determined by the employee ID. So therefore there is a transitive functional dependency over here. So this dependency should not be there. I mean, so there should not be a transitive functional dependency in the sense of any non-prime attribute. Non-prime attribute, employee state is non-prime attribute. Uh, so there should not be a transitive one on a super key must be removed. So right. So we have this transitive dependency. We should remove it. So what we can do is we can create two tables: employee table which belongs to employee ID and employee name table, and then there would be address table. Okay. So address table can refer the employee table within that. So there will be a foreign key primary key relation within those tables. So how it would be like I can create an employee table like saying that employee ID, employee name 1001, and then I can say this is in zone, and then 1002. These details I can here, and then likewise address table could be like I have an employee zip, and then I could say that this is employee state. Let's say I could take two values. I am not taking city and district. Okay. Zip is like this one, and for this is for UP, and for likewise, and for these two entries, I will have only one entry, right? So I removing the redundancy of the data, right? So I don't have to repeat these two entry while creating the address table, right? And from here, I can refer this employee ID, right? Whichever one, okay? Or I can do that. So, but you need to repeat over here as well because you need to refer the employee ID. So first you need to report y01 and then you need to specify the employee zip for 203. What is that? Yeah, this one. Again, there will be an HR. So primary key for this table would be employee zip and employee ID. And this one is for 1203. Okay, so you need to create two tables out of this data so that you will have in third normal form. Okay, so there will be a this transitive functional dependency over here. Okay, so this is how we can create the different normal forms basically. You can quickly remember it, right? First of in the first, if we can repeat and re-understand, like every record should be in unique record. So there should not be kind of repetition of these, these cell. So that's how we create the first normal form. Once it is in first normal form, we create if the data is in this form, right? So we can create two tables so that there should not be non-prime attributes should not be depending upon the partial. There should not be partial dependency, right? Math should not be dependent upon L1 because this teacher ID and subject ID is in a candidate key, or you can say it as in a primary key. And I could, there could be other attribute also, right? For teacher, there should be a teacher A or teacher, the attribute related to teacher. So therefore, you should separate out subject information and teacher information. This is in isolation. Okay, and like we have come up with the two tables, like to remove the partial dependency of the attributes. And if you have such kind of data like this one data, so though it is in a second normal form, but it is not in a third normal form, right? To eliminate the this transitive functional dependency, like employee state is determined by the employee zip and employee ID. So there will be a dependency of the attribute on the primary key itself, not the any other uh, any other part of the super key, right? So we have come up with these two tables for this third norm form. Okay. So thank you so much. Please subscribe my channel, and we are going to